Hi, welcome to our channel Programming of Mind, where we accelerate your knowledge with concise, from high-value book summaries. Let's begin handling stress. Mars and Venus under pressure understanding stress. How men and women respond differently. Stress is a natural part of life, but how we cope with it can vary greatly between men and women. The way stress affects each gender is shaped by a combination of biological, emotional, and social factors. In relationships, understanding these differences can lead to better communication, more empathy, and less conflict during stressful times. For men, stress is often experienced as a more internalized emotion. When faced with a challenging situation, men may withdraw or become more focused on finding a practical solution. They tend to seek solitude or distraction as a way to manage their stress. It's not that they don't care about their partner's well-being or concerns. It's simply that they process stress in a more isolated manner. Take the example of Ben and Emma. Ben has had a particularly taxing day at work, dealing with an angry client and looming deadlines. When he comes home, he retreats to the living room, sits in front of the TV, and doesn't want to engage in conversation. Emma, however, wants to talk about her own day and seek emotional support. She may interpret Ben's retreat as a sign that he is distancing himself from her. But Ben's need for space is how he manages the pressure of his day. For him, watching TV or being in a quiet space allows him to decompress before he's ready to engage emotionally. The fight-or-flight response. A Mars trait, one of the fundamental ways in which men handle stress is through what is known as the fight-or-flight response. When faced with a stressful situation, men may either take immediate action to solve the problem or physically withdraw to avoid confrontation. This natural response stems from evolutionary biology. Men were historically the hunters and protectors, responding quickly to external threats. For instance, imagine Greg and Sarah. Greg is an athlete and has a stressful situation in a competition. His instinct is to either push himself harder or retreat in his silence to regroup. He needs space to focus on the problem and figure out how to overcome the obstacle. Sarah, on the other hand, would likely want to talk about the stress with Greg, sharing her concerns, but Greg's first instinct is to handle it alone and figure out the best approach. Sarah might feel shut out or even hurt that Greg isn't opening up about the stress he's under. However, understanding that Greg's need for solitude is part of his natural coping mechanism helps Sarah give him the space he needs without taking it personally. Women's stress response. Nurturing and connecting women, on the other hand, tend to respond to stress by seeking connection and emotional support. When stressed, women are more likely to reach out to others, whether friends, family, or their partner, for comfort and reassurance. Their response is often to tend and befriend, a strategy that involves seeking out social support to cope with pressure. Let's consider the case of Emily and Mike. Emily has had a rough day. She's dealing with pressure at work and some personal issues. She immediately wants to talk to Mike about everything that happened, hoping that sharing her feelings will help her process the stress. Mike, however, has had a long day as well and just wants to unwind. He might not immediately be ready to provide the emotional support that Emily is seeking. Emily could interpret Mike's reluctance to talk as a lack of care or interest in her problems. But in reality, Mike simply doesn't know how to engage in the conversation at that moment. He doesn't feel emotionally equipped to offer comfort, even though he deeply cares for Emily. The disconnect here stems from the different ways they respond to stress. Emily's need for emotional connection is vital for her to process her stress, while Mike's instinct is to withdraw and reset before he's ready to provide support. Stress and emotional closeness. Why it matters. The need for emotional closeness during stressful times can lead to tension in relationships when partners don't understand each other's stress responses. Men may feel overwhelmed when their partner wants to engage in emotional discussions during high-stress moments, while women may feel unsupported when their partner withdraws or isolates themselves. The key to managing stress together as a couple lies in mutual understanding and respecting these differences. Consider the dynamic between Thomas and Laura. Thomas has been working on a big project at work and is under a great deal of pressure. Laura, who has been at home with the kids all day, wants to share how she's been feeling. However, when she starts talking, Thomas withdraws, needing time to focus on his work. Laura feels neglected and unheard, while Thomas feels suffocated by the emotional demands placed on him. The solution for them is to communicate about their individual needs for stress relief. Laura learns that Thomas needs time alone to decompress, and Thomas realizes that Laura needs a few minutes of conversation to feel emotionally connected and supported. This mutual understanding helps them work through stress without growing resentful of each other. Avoiding conflict during stressful times. Mars and Venus in action conflict is inevitable in relationships, but it's important to note that stress often magnifies emotional triggers and can lead to heightened tension. When under stress, people are more likely to react emotionally, and communication can become distorted. Men, who typically withdraw during stress, may seem emotionally distant, while women, who crave emotional connection, may feel neglected and rejected. Let's look at the story of Olivia and Jack. Olivia is stressed about an upcoming presentation at work, and Jack is feeling overwhelmed by a personal project he is working on. When Olivia tries to talk about her stress, Jack brushes her off, telling her he's too busy to talk. Olivia feels hurt and rejected, which leads to a bigger argument about their lack of communication. In this situation, both partners are reacting to their own stress in ways that escalate the conflict. To prevent these kinds of situations, Olivia and Jack can benefit from taking a step back and recognizing that stress is amplifying their reactions. They can decide to have a calm conversation, acknowledging that they both have their own pressures and that they need to be patient and understanding with each other during these times. By choosing to address stress together rather than allowing it to drive a wedge between them, they can manage their pressures without losing emotional connection. Supporting each other during stressful times to truly thrive as a couple, it's essential to understand that stress doesn't just affect the individual, it affects the relationship as a whole. Both partners need to find ways to support each other while honoring their personal stress responses. Consider how Richard and Tanya approach stress. Richard may withdraw when stressed, and Tanya may seek emotional connection. They make an effort to respect each other's needs by scheduling stress-free time together, whether that's watching a movie, going for a walk, or simply sitting in silence. When one of them is under significant pressure, the other is mindful of their stress response and adjusts accordingly. Richard might step up to listen to Tanya when she's feeling overwhelmed, and Tanya might give Richard the space he needs when he's under stress. This kind of mutual support creates a foundation of trust and understanding, allowing both partners to weather difficult times without feeling alone in their struggles. It's not about always solving each other's problems, but about being there for one another in a way that fosters emotional resilience and closeness. Why compromise is key to managing stress. While it's important to honor each other's stress responses, compromise is often necessary for maintaining harmony. There will be times when both partners need space, and there will be moments when both need emotional connection. The goal is to find balance, a give and take that respects both partners' needs without making either feel unsupported. Take the example of Isabel and Daniel. Isabel loves to talk through her problems, while Daniel needs to retreat and think before he can engage in a productive conversation. Isabel used to feel ignored when Daniel withdrew, but over time, they learned to compromise. Isabel might start by sharing her feelings for a short time, and then Daniel can take a break to process before they continue the conversation. This way, both partners get their needs met without escalating tension. In moments of stress, compromise ensures that both partners feel heard and valued, even when they respond to stress in different ways. It's about creating a space where both people can feel safe, supported, and understood during difficult times. Thank you for listening, and please like the video and subscribe for more great upcoming content that will put you in top 1% people in the world.